Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Always appreciate you. I'm Orlando Luis Jr. Those of you out there that know me, if you watch this channel, well, all three of you, anyways, you might have gotten a hint by now that when it comes to movies and talking movies, I'm all about the classics. I am dedicated to spreading the word, the gospel, if you will, about classic movies. But like your average movie nerd, I also get excited about new stuff that's coming out. And so, since it's still pretty early in the year, we're about to end with January. In a couple days, it's going to be February. I still have enough time to get this out. And, it's kind of a tradition since I did start doing it when I first started this little channel, anyways, a few years ago. So, with that said, and without further ado, here are my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2026. Number 10, Scream 7. It's kind of crazy to say that out loud, actually. I can't believe we're actually at 7 now with this series. But I have a huge attachment to that first movie. Back in December of 1996, when I was about 13, Scream was the first horror movie that I was able to go to the movies and sit through and watch from beginning to end without running out of the theater like a little bitch. And so that was kind of a milestone for me. And I saw every one of these in the theater except for the fourth movie from 2011, which when I finally saw on video, I gotta admit, I wasn't a big fan of. I know a lot of y'all out there love Scream 4, but not me. It has a CW feel about it that I don't care for. And when it comes to the sixth movie, I'm really tired about, characters surviving these, deaths that they should not be surviving. It's bullshit. I'm tired of certain characters that keep living through these movies when they need to die by now. But the biggest gripe I have with these newer movies is the whole meta thing is really, played out. Back in the first movie, what kind of added to the realism of, the first Scream was the whole idea of the teenagers in the movie having watched the same movies that we, the audience, grew up with. And so it wasn't really that it was meta, it was all new at the time. But the whole idea is all of that kind of added to the realism of that whole situation of that world. And so that kind of just made it a bit scarier for us back then at the time. But now it's too much wink, wink, nod, nod to the audience, and it's just, tired. So I'm really hoping that with Kevin Williamson back, which, he wrote the first two and the fourth one, which don't care for, but I'm really hoping that he gets back to the basics. Number 9, Mandalorian and Grogu. I gotta admit, not a fan of that title, but I have faith. I haven't missed a Star Wars movie in the theater ever since 1997 when they re-released the original Star Wars trilogy in theaters with those special edition versions. But back then it was a lot of fun to see on the big screen, and since then I have not missed one of these in the theater, and so I will be there in the theater for Mandalorian and Grogu. And although season 3 of Mandalorian got everybody's faith a bit shaken, I'm a fan of season 1 and 2, and so I got some faith, I got some hope. After all, it is Jon Favreau in the director's chair that did this one, and so how can it not be good? This guy gave us Iron Man. Hell, this guy gave us 2003's Elf. So yeah, I gotta stay positive and hope that it's gonna turn out okay because I got faith in Jon Favreau, and overall, I got faith in my boy Pedro Pascal. He's everywhere. I know he's like one of those guys that we're getting tired of seeing and everything, but hey, the guy is awesome. Number 8, Supergirl. I am stoked to watch this movie. I'm very excited for it, and I love the MCU, but at heart, I've always been kind of a DC guy ever since I was a wee lad. Since after all, long before the MCU ever existed, I grew up with Christopher Reeve's Superman, Michael Keaton's Batman, hell, Adam West's Batman, and Helen Slater in 1984's Supergirl, which wasn't all that great, but that was our Supergirl, and you know, she deserves justice. This character deserves to be in a good movie, and I'm hoping this turns out to be just that. And I'm actually hoping it's going to be great because we got something that we didn't have before. We actually have someone like James Gunn who is steering the ship and making sure that the whole thing is a part of this new DC universe that hopefully is going to have the potential to grow much like the MCU did. And so I got faith. I got faith in James Gunn and Millie Alcock. I'm not really a Game of Thrones guy, so I haven't really seen her in much. But from the little bit I saw her of in the Superman movie that came out last year, she seemed like a good fit for the role, and so I'm gonna stay optimistic and hope for the best and hope that it turns out to be a good one. So yeah, it'll be a fun time to watch that with my daughters and cheer on Supergirl. Number seven, Digger, starring Tom Cruise, directed by Alejandro Iñárritu. And a lot of you might not remember this, but back in the day, there was a time before Tom Cruise was Mr. Action Star, Mr. Does all his own stunts and all that. There was once a time when he was more than just a movie star. He was a true actor when he took on roles that were meaty and very chancy, like Magnolia or Interview with a Vampire or A Few Good Men or Born on the 4th of July or Rain Man. And I really want that Tom Cruise to come back and just act his ass off for us. And so, I'm looking forward to this. The trailers are very kind of ambiguous. They don't really say much about the story, but you get a sense that you're going to see something special, especially since, you got a combination of this great actor, Tom Cruise, and this great director who gave us Birdman and also The Revenant. And so that right there is something I think to get excited about. And so that combination does make me wonder what are they going to do in this movie. Number 6, Spider-Man Brand New Day, directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, director of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So this has potential to be great. And I love the Spider-Verse movies. I really loved the Mark Webb movies, Sam Raimi movies. I even enjoy the live action 70s show from back in the day where Spider-Man Peter Parker was basically like a 40-year-old dude. But for me, the best version will always be that 90s animated series, much like the X-Men animated series. Those are just the best versions because they're so fleshed out in terms of the stories and stuff. But when it comes to movies, the idea of Tom Holland finally getting to be that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and maybe possibly getting like a street level type of story where you're going to have Daredevil and the Punisher and maybe even the Hulk in there, that's something that makes us as fans salivate for this kind of thing. And so, yeah, I'm so ready for this. Number 5, Disclosure Day, the latest film from one of the greatest directors to ever pick up a camera, Mr. Steven Spielberg. From the trailers, you can tell right away this is going to be something that has to do with aliens, but it's a very kind of mysterious type of teaser trailer. It's very cryptic. You don't really get much of a sense of the plot or anything. You just know from the teasers that we're dealing with aliens and it's coming from him. So there's something special on the horizon for us as an audience and as movie fans. And so since this is from the guy that gave us Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T. the Extraterrestrial, and 20 years ago gave us War of the Worlds, that was a real fun time at the movies as I, remember that. So, this is going to be something special. And when it comes to aliens, not many directors can do this kind of subject like Spielberg because he's either going to make you cry or give you a fright, or possibly both, because if anyone has the power to do it, it's definitely him. And so, fuck yeah, I'm excited for this movie. Love his work, love his many, many classic movies that he's done in the past. So this just has the potential to be another one of those classics. So hell yeah, I'm gonna be there opening day. Number 4, Godzilla Minus Zero, directed by Takashi Yamazaki. I was a big, big fan of Godzilla Minus One that came out a few years ago in 2023. It was my favorite movie of that year, and it was a great time at the movies. So this one has to be, I'm guessing it's gonna have a bigger budget, so it has to be awesome. It's gonna have Godzilla coming back, and that last one, Godzilla was actually really, really, scary. They actually made Godzilla feel very threatening. Usually, it just feels like a big CGI fest that doesn't feel all that tangible. But with Godzilla and that last one, there was a real sense of danger, a real sense of stakes, and some hoping with this next one that just kind of takes that ball and keeps running with it. Number 3, Avengers Doomsday from directors Joe and Anthony Russo. How could this not be on the list? From the guys that gave us Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, this has the potential to be the greatest Marvel movie ever. You got the Fantastic Four coming in with the Avengers, coming in with X-Men, the old school Fox X-Men. It's kind of sad that they're not hiding any of this stuff. They're just kind of giving it to us in all these little teaser trailers and stuff. I wish they would save some of this stuff for the movie and all this stuff would have been such a great surprise for a first time watch had they not, teased so much of it and just revealed so much of this stuff. But either way, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing with all these promos and all these so-called leaking of, these trailers, and then you see the actual polished versions later on. But either way, we're going to go see it no matter what they do. They can pretty much tell us what we're going to see, and we're still going to go because it's Avengers. Number two, The Odyssey. And it's a Christopher Nolan movie, so how could that not be on this list? I love Christopher Nolan's work. He's one of the greatest directors we have working today. Anytime he has a movie coming out, it's an event in and of itself. And the idea that he's taken on Greek mythology is very, very cool, very exciting. I love the whole, Homer's Odyssey story. I learned about it back in the day in middle school, and in the 90s there was a mini series that came out, I think, on NBC that I really enjoyed with Armand Asante and Isabella Rossellini, a lot of cool famous actors from back then. And so yeah, I am familiar with this tale, and so I'm really anxious to see a big screen live action adaptation given the whole big budget treatment from somebody like Christopher Nolan with a cast like Matt Damon and Tom Holland and Mia Goth. So that cast right there, coupled with this director and just the subject matter, it's going to be something awesome. All right, number one. Number one is based on a property that I have tremendous nostalgia for. I am hugely excited for, more so than anything else that I just talked about, which when I bring up might be very surprising to a lot of you. But for those of you out there that grew up with me, that knew me as a wee lad, you probably will understand where I'm coming from. And yeah. I have the power! Masters of the fucking universe! Whoa, baby! Woo, boy. Okay. I am a fan, in case you didn't notice. I got the whole set right here of the entire series on this little DVD, little box set. Love this show. I grew up with this as a youngin. Watched every single episode. I even watched the version on Netflix, which a lot of people tend to hate, but I'm not one of those people because I love He-Man so much that I'll watch anything He-Man. So I watched that whole thing, grinning from ear to ear. You can hate me if you want. I like what I like. Okay. And it just so happens that this movie is the first movie that 3-year-old me ever saw in the theater back in 1987. The very first thing I ever saw on the big screen. So although this might not be the greatest movie, of all time, not even close, I have a big, big love and a big, big fondness for this property, for this movie, for this character, for this world. And I'm very, very glad that it's finally getting the treatment it deserves from director Travis Knight, who gave us what, Bumblebee, one of the best Transformers movies, Kubo and the Two Strings. So just by the look of this thing, by the trailers, you can tell he cares about this whole world and he's gonna do some kind of justice. I know he's gonna give it justice. I know it's gonna be at least all right. Maybe it won't be, it could suck for all I know. It could be dog shit. Maybe it will be. But it's Travis Knight. I have faith in Travis Knight. He gave me Bumblebee, gave me Kubo and the Two Strings, so I have a feeling this is going to be pretty badass. And just from the trailer alone, yeah, I am more than excited. Excited, that's an understatement. I'm ready to put on my He-Man underoos and dance around like I'm 3 years old again. I can't wait! I can't wait! I can't wait! I can't wait! It's gonna be great. Hoping. If it sucks, it's gonna be slow crushing. I might just curl up into a ball on the floor and just, yeah, weep for a few weeks if it sucks. That's how much I care about this. Yep, I guess I'm just a man child. Alright. Thank you all very much for watching this top 10 most anticipated movies of 2026. And be sure to look out for my next classic movie review coming out just a few days. We got February coming up, so Black History Month. So expect some movies that are, starring some of our great black actors and, some great black stories, which I will do all through the month of February in honor of, you know, Black History Month. So, yeah, with that said, appreciate you watching. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next classic movie review. Till next time, everybody take care of each other. Peace out. God bless. Bye bye.